The issue of student housing affordability is now more alarming than ever. The majority of the students cannot afford to live in a good apartment with all the amenities, so they are forced to rent basements with terrible living conditions, or they end up sharing rent with other people who usually are complete strangers to them. And in most cases, it leads to different problems.
Earlier this year, community called Save the Student conducted a research, and the results have shown that the most common issues that students have to deal with are noisy roommates, housemates that are stealing your food, inappropriate landlord visits, and bed bugs. So we're going to talk to a student who was struggling to find an apartment 4 months ago, and we're going to ask her what is her current living situation. So let's go and take a look. Hi Vlada, how are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. So we're here now gonna talk about your apartment and your living situation right now. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and thank you for letting me into your apartment. And so my first question for you is, what was your main criteria when you were choosing the apartment to live in?
So, when I was looking for an apartment, I considered the location and the price.
So what was important when it comes to location?
So, it should be close to my school, so to Humber College.
So for how long have you been living here?
So, I started renting this apartment in August, so it's approximately I pay 1,000 bucks per month with electricity not included.
Okay, and how do you like it so far?
Well, actually, I expected much more from this apartment.
And why do you say so?
Because now I have problems with my landlord and also with the girl that I'm renting the apartment. Because I rent with my best friend. We rent 2 rooms out of 3. Yeah, and the girl that moved recently, like we have some arguments with her.
Okay, and what exactly are your problems with the landlord?
Um, so she can enter the apartment without giving the notice before. Also, she texted us like about the garbage that we didn't throw, because our roommate sent her the picture of our dirty kitchen, and the stuff that we have in our garbage bin. So, like, me and our friend think that it's a kind of harassment. She texted us about the guests that we have, like, overnight or after 10 p.m., because she said, like, it's violating the condos rules that don't actually exist. She texted, like, there is like, in the contract that we cannot have guests overnight, but, like, the contract doesn't say that. So she said, like, if you will like break those rules, I will evict you or something. And sometimes I'm just afraid to come home, just not like to break the rules that she said, because like I can feel comfortable in the place that I'm renting, and I pay like a big amount of money for that, and I just like trying to be outside the apartment as much as I can do.
Okay, and what does exactly the contract says about having guests over?
So it doesn't say about the guests overnight at all. It's written in the contract that landlord cannot prohibit the tenant to have their roommates or to have a guest overnight. And she said like we are breaking the condos rules that do not exist, and like that's why we can bring the guests here and our friends can like stay after 10 p.m., which is so stupid because like we can work on our group assignments at home, so we need to go to school to do this and stay there like overnight. So I can even sleep at home when I have a lot of things to study.
And are there any other issues with your roommate that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, so recently we got the noise complaint from the management of the condos, which says like we are slamming doors after 10 p.m. and also play music loudly. And our landlord thinks that it's me and my friend that I'm living with doing this, because like we are friends, so all the problems that we have in the condos like connected with us. But we explained to her like slamming doors is a habit. So if we didn't have these problems before, so why are we starting doing this? Said like it's a new girl doing this because like we know exactly that she does it. And the lender doesn't believe us because said like I had problems with you in the past, so like all the problems that I will have in the future will also be connected to you. Yeah, so now I have a lot of issues with the landlord, and that's why I don't like this apartment.
Okay, so hi Ellie.
Hi, Christina.
I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions about student housing,
Sure.
and my first question for you today is, do you think it's hard for students to find a decent place to live, and if yes, why so?
Very, very good question. Yeah, currently it is very difficult for students to find a place to live because the first difficulty that they're tasked with is to obtain a credit score. And even if they do obtain the credit score from Equifax, it may not be high enough for the landlord's likings. And come on, in this day and age, students have very low credit scores currently. And another factor of why students cannot pay rent is because they are tasked with working minimum hours, such as 20 hours. 40 hours is too much to balance. So with a 20-hour paycheck, they won't be able to afford the rent. Or if they do want to afford the rent, they're going to be living in somewhere really little, small, a room to rent, something really dingy and untidy.
Have you ever had any issues with your clients? Like, did anybody ever complain about having issues with landlord or roommates?
All the time, especially with students, not older folks, especially with students. Noise complaints, disruptive complaints, coming in at all times of the hours. I get these issues a lot. And being a former real estate agent, in my experience, not all students have faced difficulty with finding a room to rent. It really just depends on your luck factor. Some landlords aren't picky. You could build a good relationship with the other roommates in the house. And most of the landlords that have rented out to students in the past, they know the pros and cons. So they have compassion. They're willing to rent out to students again. Students, when you guys are looking to rent, make sure with confidence that you build a very good relationship with the landlord. You may need his or her references in the future.
Thank you.